Hello, my name is Rodrigo Mendes and I work at GeneXus as a technology evangelist for the GeneXus solutions for the SAP world. In this video, I want to tell you a bit about what the solution is based on, and for that I understand that it's necessary to talk about the SAP ecosystem, as it will be the starting point in the vision that we generated in GeneXus to create the GeneXus product for SAP Systems. SAP, over time, has changed together with technology, offering different services. We see that in the last couple of years, we've had some big changes in the SAP ecosystem, from the very versions of the ERP in the cloud, with the last version S/4HANA, also together with the creation of its own database handler, which is HANA. That makes us think that the SAP is moving quickly in technology changes, and as a platform for development, we need to go and work together with these clients that need to migrate and create new applications in the ecosystem for SAP. The SAP ecosystem has suffered relentless changes over the last couple of years due to the new version of its star product, the ERP, which is S/4HANA, that has versions both on-premises as well as in the cloud, in the SAP cloud, which we know as Business Technology Platform, or BTP. SAP has also developed its own database handler called HANA, which is the only possibility as a database handler for the new ERP S/4HANA version. So we have an ecosystem, an SAP ecosystem, where all the clients that use SAP over time had developed a number of applications that were satellite to SAP and that they were interconnected to the ERP. And also these applications will suffer the same changes that we see that the SAP ecosystem is going through. So what are the current challenges for SAP customers nowadays? That around SAP systems, you have satellite applications that have been developed over time by companies to try to integrate information and adapt to the changes that happened in businesses themselves without forgetting that it was impacting the SAP information. So many of these satellite applications that impact and integrate with SAP are going to also undergo some changes and will therefore need to adapt to these changes and migrate successfully to the future technologies. So from GeneXus, we came up with a GeneXus product for SAP Systems. This is a product that will offer specific benefits to those that are interested in creating, maintaining, or evolving applications that must coexist in an SAP ecosystem and that need to adapt to the changes that this ecosystem is going through. So what are the benefits that GeneXus for SAP Systems offers? In our applications that we may be developing in our low-code GeneXus platform, we can extend functionalities, both for the ERP in its S4 version, as well as previous versions, and also for the SAP ERP, which is known as Business One, for mid-sized and small-sized companies. Also, GeneXus developers will be able to impact automatically on the data model in the new databases with HANA, and this will allow these applications to coexist in the technology ecosystem that SAP has nowadays. We will be able to automatically deploy these applications generated in a simple way with GeneXus into the cloud with the business technology platform that has SAP, which will allow our applications that were created with GeneXus to make use of that very same service that the company that has SAP has to use. So these applications that we will be developing, we will be able to develop them with the Fiori design guide, both with the 2.0 and the 3.0 versions, thanks to the design systems that GeneXus is offering, which will allow our application to look and behave in the same way that any other application that already exists in the SAP ecosystem. And finally, we will be able to integrate AI services and machine learning services so that we can boost the value of our applications when they are generated using GeneXus for SAP systems. GeneXus allows us to extend the functionalities of the ERP systems by using a connector that allows you to explore the business objects that reside in the SAP system, both those objects that reside in the standard implementation as well as business objects that have been created by users. In GeneXus, we will be able to explore these business objects and we will be able to import it to our logical modeling those objects, those business objects with which we want to interact and through which methods we will be interacting. What we'll have as a result that when GeneXus builds the applications and the programs that will coexist in the SAP ecosystems, these will be already integrated directly with the SAP system. As I was telling you, GeneXus now incorporated the possibility of generating the physical data model by using the database engine of HANA. We will see that GeneXus in the reorganization process allows us to create all the tables and modify them as we modify the structure of the logical model. From HANA, we will be able to also define for each table whether we want to store information based on rows or in columns, using the advantage that we get from this in terms of performance. As you see, GeneXus also allows us to automatically generate and integrate other database engines, which adds value when it comes to interacting with the physical layers model. In the same way that GeneXus offers the automatic deploy to SAP for the most important cloud vendors in the market, GeneXus for SAP Systems also allows these applications to be put in production in the cloud, in the SAP cloud, which is called Business Technology Platform. In a similar way as you see with most database engines, GeneXus also supports the put into production of these applications in diverse clouds in the market. As much as the interfaces that we will be developing in our systems, we will be able to use the Fiori's design system. Fiori's design system will allow us to use different templates to deliver multiple user experiences, which will range from web applications to native mobile applications, or even having chatbots that run in both kinds of applications. These templates given by the Fiori design system will allow us to accelerate substantially the development of interfaces of our systems, and they will give us a starting point so that we can keep on working them as we need to make any kind of modifications eventually based on clients' requirements. So let's see how these GeneXus technologies for SAP systems work when it comes to creating an application that will have a web component and a mobile component in the following example. So let's take a quick look at how this works, how this web application works. You will see that in the main page, you have the Fiori's Launchpad, which is one of the elements that the Fiori design system that we have applied in this development gives you. And we can here go to see all the information records of the different entities that we have modeled in our system, amongst which we will have access to, for example, the catalog of the different products, where you can visualize in detail the information for each product that is registered. Additionally, you can come here to take a look at the customers list, where you will have all the options given by Fiori's pattern, so that you can create, modify, or delete these registries of customers that you have in the system. And finally, you will see the list of the different sales orders that have been made by salespeople after they've visited their clients. These sales orders are generated through the mobile applications that were also built using GeneXus, in this case, what you can see on the screen. So on the right, you can see that we have also built a mobile multi-platform application because it works both for iOS and Android devices. And through this, salespeople can not only check the catalog of products that is available when it comes to visiting, for example, a customer, but also they will be able to make a sales order once they have visited their customers. So here we see, for example, the different sales orders that were generated by salespeople, and we will have the possibility of creating a sales order where we can choose our customer, we can choose the date, and also in the products catalog that you have, you can choose the products that are available so that you can insert it to the sales order. Once you save this sales order, it will not only be registered in the application, but also it will have an impact directly on the SAP system. As you can see, we have in our mobile application the number of order that was created directly on the SAP. So from the web application, we will have access to the sales order. We see that it was created here. In the very first row, you have the last sales order that was created, registered through the mobile application with its order SAP number that was assigned. And the generation of these applications will also give us an extra level of security when it comes to, for example, a connection failure to the SAP system, where you will be able to redundantly store the information so that you can process it later once the system is back up and running. So now we will see how this system is composed in GeneXus, trying to get into some of the details regarding its features and functionalities that come from GeneXus for SAP systems. Here in the GeneXus IDE, you have the knowledge base, which builds both the web and the mobile applications based on the definition of the different objects. You can see that those entities, those key entities such as customers, products, and sales orders are defined logically as transactions in GeneXus, which means that you can impact directly on the physical model while maintaining it. So we're talking about the fact that in the SAP context, it is really important to have the advantage of using the HANA's database system. So from GeneXus, we will be able to have different environments in which we can have, for instance, a testing environment or a development environment, and eventually you can take that model and those applications to a production environment. Here you can see on the left that we have an environment that would be a development and testing environment where we are using .NET technologies and where we are storing the information in a SQL server so that we can save the registries of our application. Additionally, we've also created another environment where we're going to be able to reconstruct our application using different technologies, which could come in handy to put our system into production in an SAP ecosystem. So what are these technologies? In this case, in the environment, we have defined that we will be building our application using Java, where the mobile part will be using the Apple technologies to generate iOS. And as a data store, we're going to be using HANA. So this means that we will be impacting on that logical model that we created in GeneXus in a HANA database. So how do we manage to work with this UI to give our users an experience that is as similar to other applications that follow the Fiori design guidelines? We use what we call a design pattern or a design system. In this case, the design system is Fiori's design system, which will allow us to apply and import this module to our knowledge base. That you can see here is you have the modules in our knowledge base. This is quite straightforward. You go to the options menu, you click on initialize Fiori that you prefer for your development in particular. In this case, we're going to be using the last version, which is 3.0. And these modules will have all the objects that you'll be using and that you'll need to create, in a very straightforward way, your applications that will have that user experience. Fiori's design system will give us a variety of templates that we will be able to apply to the different objects in GeneXus, as, for example, those objects that we could use to model the different entities known as transactions in GeneXus. to which you will be able to apply different patterns. Here on the screen, you can see that we have the customer object that is open, that is the transaction, that has a Fiori pattern that gives us a list report template where you can preview what the generation of that interface is going to look like. So you can choose different templates or floor plans to change at any point the style of that user interface. Okay, so what's important about this? That these templates or floor plans give you the possibility to accelerate the development of all the user interfaces. And it also gives you the possibility to make any necessary modifications to adapt that user experience in a way that you can get the most satisfaction from the customer. So how do you adapt that user experience once you have used a floor plan or a template in Fiori's design system? You will have on the left of your preview a tree where you will have all the different components that in a way make up that graphic interface. So you will be able to not only modify components properties by selecting, for example, here I'm selecting a table, and you will see all the properties that you have for that table, but also on top of that you will be able to add more newer components to this structured tree. So in this way you already have the acceleration to create the interfaces, and this gives you the possibility to keep on working so that you modify it and you improve the customer experience for the end user. It's important to mention that Fiori's design system is not only applied for web applications generation, but also that it facilitates and it really simplifies the generation of mobile applications. Why? Because it also offers all the templates for a number of mobile screens. So here, now we're going to see that for products, we will have a panel, a mobile panel that was automatically created by Fiori. And you will see that you have different templates that you can choose from and that allow you to reorganize how you want to display the information on this screen, on this mobile screen, of course. So here, for example, you will see that you're getting to the selection menu, where you can change the kind of information that you're going to be displaying in a similar way to how the modification works on those templates that you chose to modify, the different web screens. You will be able to do exactly the same thing, but to modify your mobile templates. So you will be able to change the property values for each object of this structured tree, and also you will be able to add other objects to this tree. Additionally, from this wizard, we can also change templates. You can change the one that you selected originally. So, for example, here you can see the different options that you get for templates to show, for instance, a list of information, a list of details on the screen. So you can just show it with a simple list, or maybe you can show it as cards with images, or simply as cards with text. So it's our decision to choose the best path, to design the user experience that will add the most value. Once you have seen the focus of GeneXus for SAP Systems related to user experience creation through the Fiori pattern, we will see now how from GeneXus we work with integration to SAP Systems in terms of the information that we send and the information that we receive from SAP Systems. So we will be using for this a connector that will allow us to connect to those business objects in an SAP, in a private SAP system, to import these business objects APIs. This is normally known in an SAP ecosystems as BAPIs. So we can import a specific BAPI and GeneXus will create automatically all the structures that you need so that you can later interact in your knowledge base directly with the SAP system when it comes to building and running your application. So once that we have selected this import option for a BAPI with SAP, you need to put in the access credentials for the SAP system, and you will be connecting with the objects repository of the SAP system. So we will see in this window here all the different business objects that are exposed, both those business objects that come in a standard way with the SAP system, as well as those business objects or methods that have been created additionally to adjust to a specific business need from the system. So here we're going to have a structured list that is cataloged depending on the category or the kind of usage for each business object. Alternatively, we will also be able to search directly, which is the business object that we want to incorporate in our development. In this case, for instance, we are working on the application with our sales orders. So here I'm going to write, for instance, sales. And you will see that you have two business objects that coincide with your search. They match it, and so what you do here is you imported a business objects method for sales orders. So what we wanted to do is, from the mobile application, we wanted to create an order. Therefore, what we did was to import the method of create from data, right? When you select that method, you will see that GeneXus offers gives you the possibility to see the published documentation on that business object directly from the SAP, and also it allows you to see all technical information available on the business object that could be useful when it comes to interacting with actors on the SAP ecosystem, such as, for example, an SAP basis. Now we're going to also see the detail of that business object, that is, what structures within SAP make up that business object, their type, right? And if those structures are input or output structures. So all this information that GeneXus is showing us will allow us to, when it comes to importing, have all the structures automatically generated in a knowledge base, so that later on we can already have all the interaction of the information against the SAP system figured out. So once you select the business object and you import it, you will see that GeneXus will create a module. In this case, I've already imported it, so I'm going to expand the module. And you can see here that the one that I named is called Enterprise. And you will see that it has some objects that were created in the GeneXus knowledge base. In this case, for instance, we created a structured data object and external object. So all these objects that were created here are the ones that will allow you to integrate with the SAP system, specifically for the method that we selected, which is creating a sales order. So you will see with me how GeneXus simplifies this once you do the importing of this method. We open here a new structure generated automatically, and you see that you have already defined that structure with the attributes and the data of each attribute. So in this specific case, we selected a structure that is quite simple. As a matter of fact, this one only has one attribute, but you will see that you have other structures that are larger and that have different kinds of attributes. Yeah, so GeneXus in this case did all the import of all the structures, so the developer didn't really have to worry about mapping the type of data and the structures for it to integrate with the SAP system. Okay, so additionally, apart from these structures that I mentioned before, we have also created two external objects, which in this case, we will have one external object that will manage the connection session with SAP. So every time that you need to interact with the SAP system, you will have to use this object where you will be telling the SAP system that a user is logging in so that they can call a method from the business objects repository. And then we have the other external object, which is the external object that was created based on that business object. We can see that this business object is called customer order, which is the SAP name for sales orders, where you can see that information such as properties of those sales orders are grouped, such as document number, sales document number. And we can expand the different methods that we have imported. Because we only imported one, you will see just, create from data. But once you expand that, you will have all the parameters that that method requires, which are these structures that we mentioned before and that we already have imported. So the only thing that you will need to do is to decide at which point you will call that method from the application and make sure that you have created, using Fiori's pattern, all the screens where the user will provide you with that information so that you can eventually integrate it with the SAP system. And to wrap up this example, I would like to show you, because we have the sales order on the screen, I am connected to an SAP system where you have the possibility to take a look in the sales and distribution module, all the sales orders that are registered, and we will see the VA03 transaction of SAP that will allow you to see a sales order. So in this case, for instance, I'm going to write the sales order number that the application is showing us, and you will have access to the information that was automatically registered once the salesperson from their mobile application created a sales order. So in this way, you're using a number of technologies that GeneXus offers for SAP systems that allow you to integrate in a more friendly way with the SAP system. And in this way, you can accelerate and automate many of the processes to integrate information in modern systems. So this is all about how we were able to create, using GeneXus for SAP systems, the different systems for the spare parts distributor, allowing them to automate many of the processes and interact with the SAP system. So now that we saw what you can do with GeneXus for SAP, we're going to see what are the benefits of adopting the GeneXus SAP platform in terms of development. We will increase our productivity level by maximizing the number of projects where you can be working with the same costs. It's a platform that is good not only to develop integrated applications with SAP, but also it will allow you to develop web and mobile applications that don't necessarily need to coexist in the SAP ecosystem, which means that you will have more versatility when it comes to developing. In terms of learning, it has a minor learning curve where you can easily learn how to program with this low-code platform. Automation, also given by GeneXus, will allow you to generate your applications, minimizing the number of errors and making sure that you can have a better quality for applications and more customer satisfaction. And the rapid development to prototype these applications will also allow you to iterate more frequently, getting feedback from your client at a faster pace, and therefore accelerating the sales cycle at the same time as you make sure that you have more satisfaction from your customers. So, in summary, it will give you greater competitiveness, more business, and more satisfied customers. I would like to invite you to discover more about how GeneXus for SAP systems can simplify the development process.